Hey guys, Rob here with McDojoLife. In today's McDojo news, we're going to cover a pretty important subject. There are over 20 different Olympic level coaches that have been banned from participating in Olympic activities, specifically for abusing children. Some of those coaches included Taekwondo instructors as well. Unfortunately, those same coaches that have been banned from Olympic level activities because of abusing children are still in facilities teaching today. Let's check out the story. At least 20 people appear to be working with kids after they were accused of abuse and barred from participating in Olympic-affiliated events. Mackenzie Loesch says she still has a clear memory of the encounter that broke her. It was 10 years ago, and Loesch was 12, a rising Taekwondo star from a small town in Missouri. Her training facility was 2 hours away, and her coach, Thomas Harden, would often drive her there. One day, she was sitting in his car at a gas station when, she says, he handed her a blue rose. He told her he loved her and told her to say it back. Someday they'd get married, he said, according to Loesch. Loesch had been carrying a secret since she was 9, all while winning gold and silver medals at Taekwondo competitions and hoping she'd earn a spot on the 2016 Olympic team. That was the moment it became too much. She texted a friend and finally detailed the abuse that she says went on for nearly 3 years. "I'm freaking scared, help me," she wrote in a text message transcript created by police. "I can't tell my mom, I'm terrified." The text began a years-long battle for the Loesch family that would mar Loesch's high school experience and cause her to end her promising Taekwondo career. They dealt with the police, social services, and eventually USA Taekwondo, the sports governing body for the U.S. Olympic Committee. Harden was never criminally charged, but Loesch and her family still wanted to stop him from ever coaching children again. They ultimately learned they were up against a system with no mechanism to do so. "I don't know how not to be angry about it," Loesch, now 23, said. After Loesch's family reported the abuse to police, she said she endured a brutal stretch. Harden worked quickly to squelch the allegations, telling others in the Taekwondo community that she was a liar, according to Loesch's mother, Karen Loesch. Without any physical evidence, police ultimately declined to charge him. Harden didn't respond to requests for comment. Loesch was referred to the Missouri Children's Division, which launched an investigation. According to an investigative report, Loesch told the social worker that Harden would touch her buttocks, kiss her neck, and make her wrap her legs around him. She said he would do that in his studio, in his car, and at his home. The social worker determined by the preponderance of evidence that Loesch was the victim of sexual abuse in the form of fondling/touching perpetuated by Thomas Harden. As a result, the Children's Division told Loesch's mother that Harden's name would be added to the Missouri Family Care Safety Registry, an internal registry that tracks investigations into child and elder abuse. The registry, which can be searched by employers who are hiring for positions that deal directly with children and the elderly, isn't accessible to the public. Every state has a similar registry dedicated to maintaining reports and investigations of child abuse and neglect. It is often called a central registry, and aid agencies use it in investigations of child abuse cases. It is also used to screen people who are working with children, adopting children, or applying to be foster parents. None of the databases are accessible to the public. Police told Karen Loesch she could take Mackenzie to other jurisdictions where the alleged abuse occurred, New York and California, and see whether those departments could investigate. But Karen said the idea of traveling around the country with her traumatized 12-year-old didn't appeal to her. Karen said that the police told her she could sue, but that wouldn't address the family's goals. "We didn't want money," she said. "We wanted him not to be around children." The family filed for a restraining order, which would last until Loesch turned 18. In March of 2013, Loesch spotted Harden in the crowd at a U.S. Taekwondo event she was competing in, which was a violation of her restraining order. The police arrived and he left the facility, but the event was too much for Loesch. She decided to quit Taekwondo. The Loesch family live in a rural area outside St. Louis, and she frequently ran into Harden at Walmart and local restaurants. Loesch said that knowing he was nearby caused anxiety and made her want to become unrecognizable. "I basically changed my whole appearance," she said. "I dyed my hair. I didn't wear glasses anymore even though I couldn't see. Dressed way differently. Just wasn't myself at all." After she gave up Taekwondo, she threw herself into school. She excelled in math and eventually went on to college to study engineering. It has been over 10 years since the alleged abuse stopped, but she's angry that he's still around children. "I have a few times looked up his studio and people who train there," Loesch said. I've so badly wanted to message some of the parents saying, please get your kids out of there. I don't want anything to happen to them. I know who he is. I know what he's done. Millions of American kids participate in youth sports every year. Yet there are few safeguards to bar coaches with histories of abuse. Youth coaches aren't licensed or regulated by government agencies. And the one federal governing body that does exist is limited in scope. In 2018, Congress and the U.S. Olympic Committee created the U.S. Center for SafeSport to investigate youth and adult abuse in Olympic-affiliated sports. SafeSport can ban coaches from participating in Olympic events or activities, including elite youth programs in sports like soccer, tennis, swimming, and volleyball. But it has no jurisdiction over the vast majority of youth sports programs. SafeSport has permanently banned hundreds of coaches, including Harden. Today, he owns his own Taekwondo facility in suburban Missouri and works with boys and girls under 12, the same age as Loesch when she says she was molested. An analysis of people disciplined by SafeSport found at least 10 who appeared to be coaching or working with minors despite having been banned by SafeSport after they were criminally charged with offenses involving sexual misconduct. Another 10 are still coaching or working with minors after they were banned as a result of a SafeSport investigation or investigation by an Olympic governing body, such as U.S. Swimming. 5 more were found to have coached or trained kids after they were banned but no longer appear to be doing so. Coaches amount to only a fraction of roughly the 1,400 who have been banned by SafeSport, but experts say they illustrate the vulnerability of the estimated 45 million children who participate in youth sports in the U.S. If someone has a history of harming someone within the context of sport, they should not be continuing that role, said David Lee, the Director of Research and Evaluation at Reliance, an organization dedicated to ending sexual violence. We want to create systems to be able to ensure that people are safe from harm, and we need to be able to prevent those people from continuing to do that. Oversight models look remarkably different for schools and youth sports. In many states, schools are required to conduct extensive background checks for incoming teachers. There is no such state or federal requirements for youth coaches outside of school. Little leagues, club teams, and independently owned studios don't fall under the jurisdiction of SafeSport or laws to prevent child sexual abuse in public schools. We need some way to better police sports, said Elizabeth Letourneau, the director of the Moore Center for the Prevention of Sexual Abuse at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health in Baltimore. It is kind of unfortunate that we have to have sort of bespoke strategies, like this group polices Olympic sports and this group polices public education. SafeSport was created in the wake of the U.S. gymnastics sex scandal involving Larry Nassar. Its main function is to review allegations of sexual misconduct among its adults and youth athletes and impose sanctions on offenders. Along with sexual abuse, it also investigates allegations of bullying, harassment, hazing, physical abuse, and emotional abuse. The organization has exclusive jurisdiction over sexual abuse complaints in Olympic sports. SafeSport uses a lower threshold than criminal courts when it renders decisions. A preponderance of evidence instead of beyond a reasonable doubt. Many people in the database haven't been criminally charged. The results of investigations are put into an online database, and the discipline can be challenged in arbitration. SafeSport's oversight extends through the sports federations affiliated with the U.S. Olympic Committee, from league tournaments supported by U.S. Bowling to weekend tennis tournaments run under the banner of the U.S. Tennis Association. The organization has drawn controversy almost from the start. Athletes, coaches, and senators have criticized the pace of its investigative process and its ability to truly hold people accountable. News reports found at least 4 instances of a banned person going on to work for or own a team or a facility affiliated with U.S. Olympics or one of the governing bodies. At least one banned coach has also found a creative way to still participate in the games. SafeSport banned Vaja Bachk, a U.S. ski jumping coach, in 2020, but he went on to coach in 2022 Winter Olympics as the head of the Czech men's ski jumping team. SafeSport doesn't comment on specific cases, but the organization's lawyer have in the past addressed the issue of banned coaches going on to work with children. One coach who was banned for drugging and raping an athlete sued SafeSport, claiming his ban precluded him from earning a living. In response, SafeSport lawyers said the coach wasn't precluded from employment and could, in fact, continue to coach. He can go overseas and work for another Olympic committee, the motion filed by SafeSport says. He could work in a Taekwondo studio that is not subject to the auspices of the U.S. Olympic Committee or under their purview. Lawyers for SafeSport went even further, saying he could continue to put himself in positions where he could commit abuse again. He can get a job doing something else that does put him in situations where he might be tempted to repeat the behavior that led to the instant sanction. Moreover, the lifetime ban as limited does not prevent him from potentially engaging in the same behavior that led to the sanctions. It only affects activities specifically under the auspices of the U.S. Olympic Committee. In response to questions from reporters, SafeSport CEO Juris Cologne said the effort to prevent abuse in sports requires a commitment from people at all levels. Every sport entity serving minor athletes should follow the CDC guidelines on child safety and adhere to abuse prevention best practices, including conducting comprehensive background checks, implementing strong safety policies, and offering abuse prevention training, Cologne said. Cologne also said the organization strongly recommends that every sport organization review our public, centralized disciplinary database when screening coaches and other individuals in a position of authority, particularly those working with minors. She added that although its jurisdiction is limited, SafeSport has worked with more than 900 organizations outside the Olympic and Paralympic movement to provide training. I don't think that people who have been banned from Olympic and Paralympic sports should have the flexibility to move on to someone's local school or university, Cologne said in an interview. That's not what the intent of the center was. It's just something that unfortunately has happened at least 20 times. Then there's Peter Kim, who works at Match Point Martial Arts in Brunswick, Ohio. He has received glowing reviews from parents on Google. Master Kim is awesome with all the kids, one says. But not only is he listed in SafeSport's database as being permanently ineligible to participate in U.S. Taekwondo, he was also convicted of attempted sexual battery and was registered sex offender until 2013. The case dates to early 2000s, when he was working at a Taekwondo studio in Medina, about 7 miles from Brunswick. Marie, who asked to be identified only by her middle name for privacy reasons and fear of retaliation, met Kim when she was 11 years old. She said that over the years, Kim would make comments about her body and how she would make a good wife. As she got older, she said, he became more physical and eventually more aggressive. He rubbed her back and went under her clothing, she said. He walked into the locker room while she was changing and reached into her pants, she said. After the first alleged sexual assault at age 17, she said she began crying, but he abused her 7 or 8 more times. I was just so confused I didn't know how to handle it, she said. It took years and years of therapy to understand that he was laying a foundation through grooming over the years to get to that point. Marie left for college, but he kept trying to reach out to her, she said. She became depressed and stopped eating. She struggled in classes and relationships. She eventually told her college boyfriend and then reported it to the police. In a recorded phone call with police on the line, Kim admitted to having sex with her, telling her that her age never entered his mind. The admission was enough for indictment. Kim was sentenced to 6 months in jail in 2013 after he pleaded guilty to a charge of attempted sexual battery. Marie and her family were shocked and alarmed when they found out that Kim was still coaching. It makes me fearful for teenage girls, the young girls at the school, and that he still has that same opportunity that he had back then, she said. And it more than anything just scares me that he is potentially doing the exact same thing to someone now that he did to me. Kim didn't respond to repeated requests for comment. Let's unpack that. So even though there's an organization like SafeSport out there, which will investigate internally and try to come to the best conclusion they can, whether or not someone has crossed the line with whether an adult or a child, whether it be physical or sexual or mental abuse, doesn't really matter. They could literally kick someone out from being able to go to Olympic events. That person isn't kicked out of still doing the sport. That person could still be out there teaching children today, even if they were convicted, even if they were busted and put on a registry. Eventually they get off that registry and they're still put right back into the system and they're still teaching and around children now. Personally, I find it utterly disgusting. I think that it's ridiculous that we could allow someone to be an offender, get caught for being an offender, and then go right back into the environment in which they could abuse children again. That's why we're here, isn't it? We're here to make sure that we show those faces. Here to make sure that we give parents an opportunity to have a little bit more eyeballs on their coaches, to make sure there's some kind of accountability, and to give parents the opportunity to make their own decisions about what they do with their children with as much information as we could possibly provide so children don't get hurt or molested. But Rob, why do you keep doing all these stories about molestation in the martial arts industry? Because it doesn't stop. It just continues. And the only way we can really stop it is if we continue to share these stories and make sure that more parents are aware that this is a major issue in the martial arts industry. And clearly not just in the martial arts industry, but any sport whatsoever that involves children. I want to say thank you for taking the time to check out the story. I know it was a little bit longer than they usually are, but I'm interested in hearing your comments in the comment sections below. As always, thank you all for the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, and all that other crap people online tell you to do. Keep the martial arts legit.